Welcome back to another video showing you specifically how to hit 70 to 80%, if not higher show rates on cold traffic for any high ticket offer using these same strategies your favorite gurus use to scale to multiple 6 and 7 figures a month at low acquisition costs. And this works for coaches, consultants, agencies, really any online high ticket service based or consulting based business that spends money on ads and does 1 to 2 call closes. Now, this works if you're running only a couple $100s a day or upwards of thousands, tens of thousands of dollars every single day. So yes, it does work at scale. So let me show you first what most cold traffic offers are actually dealing with. If you're someone with a low show rate, maybe you're dealing with something similar to this. Maybe you're as high as 60, maybe you're as low as 30 or 40, but this is where we see the average fall. And this is based off a 2 call or a 1 call close, excuse me. So let's say, 55% show rate, pretty average, 20% close rate on the first call, pretty average. You have an offer that is a $5,000 price point. You have 60% of all people pay in full, the rest are on payment plans. And let's just say you have 100 calls booked on your calendar in 1 month. 55% show, obviously that's 55 calls, 60% offers made. So you make 33 offers. You close 20% of those, and that is about 6.5 deals, or let's just say 6 deals altogether, which only nets you about $19,800 in total cash collected. Now you could say it's a lot more than that in revenue, but it doesn't matter what your contract says. You cannot force someone to pay the rest of it unless you take them to court, which you're probably not going to do anyways. So $10,000 or $20,000 from 100 calls, it's really not that much, but this isn't necessarily the problem. The show rate's not the problem, and the close rate's not the problem. That's a symptom of the problem, which is the pre-call process, and in some cases the offer. But before we go into that, let me first show you what a good offer looks like. 75% show rates, 30% close rates, same offer price point, and let's say you have 80% paid in fulls because you have a better pre-call process, meaning people trust you more, meaning people show up to the call more, you have a better offer, everything all together. But we're not talking about offers in this call. We're just talking about the things that you can control once you book. So let's say 5K price point, 100 calls booked, 75% show. That's already an extra 20 calls that show up, 85% offers made. That's doubling your offer rate just because you bettered your pre-call process, getting the right people on the call. And let's say you've closed 30% because you have a better pre-call process, because you nurture people better. And now you've 3x the amount of deals you've closed as a result of fixing your show rate and fixing your pre-call process. But also maybe you have some financing partners and you just have better trust altogether, so you get more paid in fulls. But that's $76,000 in total cash collected from 100 calls that you could be making versus the inverse of $19,800. Next part is we're going to show you how to narrow that gap and actually get to this point with your own offer. So first things first, let's look at most cold traffic offers. And I want to preface by saying the 55% show rate, 20% average close rate that we're getting is not the real problem, but a symptom of the problem of what is the pre-call process, and in some cases the offer, but we're only focusing on the pre-call process for the sake of this video. So most people, they're getting more sophisticated, they're putting their testimonials on their pre-call page. They're having at least some sort of breakdown video that's maybe going over some things, or maybe it's like, hey, make sure you show up to your call, one of those kind of things. And then from there, prior to the sales call, they have automated reminders that they're trying to pretend like is a real person. Like, hey, this is John from XYZ company. I see you booked a call for this time, blah, 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 blah. Maybe it's question based, maybe it's not, but it has the, thanks for, XYZ, stop to unsubscribe, so people know that it's not a real person, and so they don't respond because it doesn't feel personalized. Now, let's say your setter or your closer is at least calling them to confirm the day of, and maybe because of all this, you're hitting a 50% show rate. But the prospect shows up, they're pretty cold. They didn't really go through a whole lot of content. Other maybe they watched 1 to 2 minutes of this video, a couple testimonials, but they don't hear anything from you for a couple days. And so then they show up on the call, and then maybe the intent isn't really super high. So that's usually what leads to lower show rates. And this is pretty standard. This is what most people do, but not what the best people do. So let me show you on the other flip side what it actually looks like to have over 70% show rates, over 30% close rates. Obviously, you need a good offer for this process to be necessary, which we'll make a completely separate video on. But this is how you actually optimize show rates and close rates and offer rates, everything all together, the right way. So first things first is your pre-call page. You want to have a video which is basically breaking down what your pre-call process is like. So make sure you accept the calendar invite, you show up to the call properly, but also a courtesy, mentioning that, hey, we're going to call you within 5 to 10 minutes to confirm your call and make sure you have everything you need, but also giving them the expectation they're going to get email marketed, they're going to get retargeted, that they're going to have a lot of content to be able to consume prior to the call so they have the expectation on what to actually look out for, and we're setting that mental frame in their mind. The next video is just breaking down what your offer is and going through a very, very specific of a deliverable of what it is you do. This could be a free masterclass. This could be a mini VSL that's breaking everything down. Very, very simple as far as that goes. The next is intentional social proof. Now, this is very, very specific, but you want to have one specific case study for each kind of prospect that you come in place. So a prospect that, will give you a certainty objection, a prospect that's never done XYZ before, a prospect that already has experience. You want to make testimonial videos to where the person that you're going through the testimonial with, where let's say you're a biz op niche and you scale someone from 0 to 100K, you want them to go over what objections they had before they started on each one of these testimonials for each one of these specific situations to where they're helping you pre-handle objections. Now, next part, this is simple on the page, is basically a FAQ video, which is going over all commonly asked questions, pre-handle all common objections. And this is going to do all the job for you if and only if someone goes through literally all of these videos on the page, which a majority of people don't, and that's just something that we cannot control. So what we do is we have an SDR call everyone within 5 to 10 minutes mandatory to basically confirm the appointment details, do a brief triage, and make sure they quality control the prospect. So it's confirming, getting an idea of what it is specifically they're looking for, and then connecting them in a 3-way group chat with the closer and sending over personalized resources based off their specific situation so that they have very specific content to be able to go through prior to the call. Not just like, hey, make sure you watch the pre-call video, but going through very, very specific things. So let's say you have one of these testimonials and you have someone who, let's say you're selling a marketing agency business opportunity. This guy that booked a call with you is at 10K a month. You help people get to 100K a month. You want to send them a specific testimonial of someone in their niche, if you have it, that's at 10K a month and got to 100K a month. So once you get an idea on their situation as the confirmation person that's calling, it's like, based off what you're telling them, like, I feel like what you're trying to do here, it's not super uncommon. And I actually have a client that actually remind me of a little bit that we actually helped get from where you are right now to actually where it is specifically you're kind of looking to go as well. What would be helpful? I sent that over to you prior to the call. They're going to be like, yeah, that would be helpful. Versus if you're just like, hey man, please watch the pre-call video, and they feel like they're just being taken through a sales process. So you want to personalize as much as you can prior to them getting on the sales call, but also with this process, making sure you're getting a quick touch point, because once people book the call, that is the highest level of intent that they have. So if you call them, you hold them accountable, you prevent the whole entire process from just slipping over their head, and you're able to control a lot more of the process. Now, next part here is very, very simple. This is going to be on the text and the automation side on what the sales team does. First things first, you want to have automated reminders that look automated. We want these to be subtle, just reminders, and that is it. Reminders that remind people to show up to their appointment. We want to give context that they are automated, because the last thing we want to do is fake it, and then these people be like, oh, these guys are just faking automated reminders. We don't want that. We want manual confirmations on top of this that are personalized. So once you put them into 3-way group chat, the setter is connecting via iMessage and only iMessage. If you do green text bubbles, you're cooked unless your prospect has a Samsung, then it's okay. But like I mentioned, send personalized resources. Once they send it, the closer is going to voice note and introduce himself to keep things a lot more personalized as well. And the setter is going to call to confirm the day of, on top of just calling to confirm the day that they book and the time that they book. Obviously, if they book at 3 a.m., you have to call them the morning of. But making sure that we have everything personalized and where they kind of somewhat meet the closer prior to the call. They meet the setter, they meet the team, versus showing up to that call and only knowing them within a 30-minute window. It builds a lot better of a relationship and leads to a lot more closed deals and a lot more people actually showing up to the call. Now, on top of just getting people to show up, which obviously this helps people show up more, but is getting them framed, because the problem people have with cold traffic is they're not as high intent as their organic audience, which you could get organic to show up at 90-95%. So why don't we actually create a system that allows paid ads to create a similar effect? So let's go ahead and do that. Now, first things first with this is email marketing and retargeting ads. Now, you're going to understand how this works in a second, but once they book the call, what you're going to want to do is send 6 to 12 emails prior to call and make sure you have a proper sending domain. Otherwise, they're going through as spam, and then you're going to lose all of your chances of properly nurturing this prospect through email. But you're sending them FAQ videos, pre-handling objections, testimonials that are leading to long form, because we want them to go from short form. They saw your ad probably on Instagram or Facebook, going to long form, to where, let's say we're sending them a testimonial. Hey, watch this on YouTube. This is the testimonial. Hey, we have this thing, watch this on YouTube. And if you're someone who doesn't have a whole lot of YouTube content strategy, if you're especially in the coaching niche, you need to start building that out so that you can have a proper ecosystem. The next thing is going to be retargeting ads. And I'm not talking about like retarget them to try to book a call or retarget them to nurture them. This is only going to cost you like $20, $30 a day, depending on your ad budget. If you're spending $10,000 a day, it's going to cost you a little bit more than that. But retarget them with 15 plus short form videos reviewing FAQs, objections, and testimonials in the same way that you did from email prior to the call, where the call to action is to send them to your YouTube channel and send them to the long form content where they could consume even more, with the whole goal to be within the 24 hours prior to them getting on the sales call. They are getting hammered and hammered and hammered with content by you, but also getting a personalized welcome from your sales team, ultimately to when they get on the sales call, they're as warm as possible, if not just as warm as your organic audience, because within that 24-hour window, they're consuming more content than most organic people do in the total of 30 days, because we're leveraging strategy. So that is how we get show rates to 75% plus, sometimes even upwards of 80-85% on cold traffic, and close people at a much higher rate. And because they trust you more, they buy more, and because they trust you more, they pay in full more versus asking you for a trial or being way too early on the sales process. So going back to this page, let's go over specifically what you need to set up to make sure you properly execute this and get your show rates a lot higher, and ultimately get your close rates a lot higher so that you can collect more cash. First things first, set a proper pre-call video, 1 to 3 minutes, that's giving an expectation on your pre-call process. Also, simple stuff, make sure they accept the calendar invite. A breakdown video with your specific unique mechanism, how you deliver it, plus testimonials in the video. Testimonial videos for each prospect type and handling objections in the video, making sure that it's not just like a video testimonial of a guy being like, hey, these guys helped me scale to 20K a month, but a specific interview going over what their process was like before working with you, after working with you, and helping that prospect or that specific customer handle objections for you. Now, next here is an FAQ video just to pre-handle objections and answer pretty much everything all together that they would possibly ask prior to getting on the call. Which also on top of that, we're going to want to make sure we make all the retargeting reels and all that stuff, which I'll go over in a second. Sales team, a cleaner SDR. So you can have, if you're low volume, you're only booking like 3 to 4 calls a day, your closer can literally do all of the confirming, right? But if your closer is packed out, the last thing you want to do is make them do it, because they're not going to be as consistent, because their priorities are going to be split. So hire an SDR that doesn't just call, obviously, to confirm, but they have other jobs. They call inbound leads, they do other stuff, but specifically to clean the quality of the calendar and make sure that they call everyone within 5 to 10 minutes and connect them with the sales rep. They are literally the calendar manager. And then from there, 3-way group chat on iMessage. If you don't have iMessage, you can download a software or get a software called SendBlue. It starts around $500 to $1,000 a month, depending on the sending volume, to where you could have automated iMessage, but you could just iMessage for your team in general. If, let's say, you have a closer that's offshore, or you have a closer with an Android, I don't hire those guys anyways, to be honest, but also make sure you send personalized and relatable testimonials or masterclasses, day of confirmation calls. Well, now on the marketing side, to go over this once again, obviously you can see the goal here, which is very, very simple and it would make sense. But automated email and SMS to make them look automated on purpose. 15 to 20 short form videos that you need to film, which are testimonials, FAQs, objections. You can use something like Opus Clip to break down your existing long form videos or testimonials, make this short form content, with a CTA to bring them to your long form or just to your Instagram profile, and 5 or 8 to 12, if not more, emails with the same stuff, testimonials, FAQ, objections. Just transcribe the exact reels into emails. Obviously, you need to use some better copywriting strategies, and send them prior to the call with a proper sending domain, with a long form call to action, or go to your Instagram call to action with one mission in mind: higher show rates, higher close rates, to be able to collect a lot more cash. So if you found this video useful, you might want to subscribe to this channel, because I'm going to be dropping a lot more sauce on here, a lot more consistently, and posting at least 1 to 2 videos every single week. And below, I'll have access to the entire Miro board, this entire Gamma doc, as well as some other free resources also within the description. And other than that, I look forward to seeing you in the next video.